Midsommar is directed by Ari Aster, and this is the second directorial feature from him after Hereditary last year. This film stars Florence Pugh, Jack Rayner, a few other actors and actresses. And this is the story of a girl named Danny, who has just been through something horrific in her life, and she's trying to find a way to maybe get past it, come to terms with it. And her boyfriend Christian comes up to her and says, "Hey, some of my friends and I were planning on going to Sweden for the Midsummer Festival. Do you want to come along?" And she says, "Sure." And they go there, and it's a very beautiful place. It seems like a really interesting festival. But of course, things start to happen that don't quite make sense. I've actually been doing a thing recently where I don't watch a lot of trailers. I have now successfully walked out of two theaters while they were playing a trailer of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because I have not seen a single shred of footage from that movie. And I don't want to. I want to go into that film completely blind. So when the trailers were playing, I would step outside, and once they were done, I would come back in. Similarly, I did not see a shred of footage for Midsommar. I haven't seen any trailers at all. I saw one poster, I saw a couple of stills online because they were all over my social media feed. And I wanted to go in blind because I went into Hereditary also very blind and not knowing what the film was going to be about, what was going to happen in it, and I was pleasantly surprised by it, and it ended up in my top 10 movies of 2018. And so obviously, with a film which was that good for a directorial debut, naturally I'm excited to see what he can do next. And I did say I will be there for Ari Aster's next film on opening day. And I was. 10 a.m. sharp today morning, I went and saw it in Times Square. And I've been sitting on this one because I finished watching the film 10 hours ago, and I've been trying to formulate my thoughts on what I thought of this movie. In fact, so much so that while I was taking a nap for 2 hours, I was contemplating it in my head. Somehow my dreams became this film. Because this is an interesting movie. Hereditary polarized a lot of people. A lot of people were split on it. Some people thought it was great. Some people did not enjoy it at all. And in anything, if that is anything to go by, then Midsommar is probably going to be a lot worse in that regard because this film is definitely much more challenging and much more intense in ways. But it's also very different because it's not horror throughout. We'll talk more about that later, but first, I'm going to address just positives in general of this film, and one of them is just Ari Aster's direction. Once again, he's proven that he can really direct the shit out of a horror film because it's fabulous. It is absolutely amazing, some of the sequences in this film, and it's really partnered up with some stunning cinematography. This is one of my favorite looking movies of the year. There are shots in this that I'm probably never going to forget for the rest of my life. One in particular, there's one shot, that I'm pretty sure is going to be etched into my head for the rest of my life. And yeah, it's a scary one. That's all I'll say about that. And it's come together with some excellent production design. The way this festival has been realized, it's a real festival that happens. I'm going to do some more research on it later though, because there are certain things I want to know about. And the costumes and stuff, it's all really amazing. Like, they've really captured this look. And it's a very interesting thing because you don't see a lot of horror films that use daylight and having everyone in on something as a concept. Here, it's in broad daylight. So whatever happens where everybody can see it happen. It's scary in the way that it's like it's not happening in some corner somewhere and you're thinking, "Oh, where did that guy go?" I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, "Oh, that guy went somewhere." It's the middle of the day. The sun's barely setting. It goes dark for like a couple of hours, then it's sunlight again, and that's the time of the year right now. And so it makes it very creepy all of a sudden. And like I said, everybody's in on it. It's not like there's one character who's like, no idea what this is. It's like everyone knows what's up. Everyone knows that there is something really off about this entire thing, which I did really like. I'm not sure if that's a spoiler because I don't want to go too much more into that idea, because that could be spoiler heavy. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And it also has a handful of fantastic performances. Florence Pugh is incredible in this film. She's worthy of an award, honestly. Her performance here is very challenging. She has to go through a lot, and she did a great job of it. And so did the boyfriend. Jack Raynor's performance was also really great. Also has to go through some stuff. There's definitely a lot of great filmmaking talent on display, and it carries forward a lot of things that Hereditary did well It's slowly creeping up on you. It's definitely unsettling. The way this film finally wraps up is insane. It has once again a gorgeous score, much like Hereditary did, and I can't wait to get that and listen to it over and over again. And before I went into this film, a lot of people were calling it a masterpiece, a really great film that is unbeatable, one of the best horror films ever made. And I was excited to hear that because it was 2 for 2. Great. Ari Aster has done it again. And I will say, for the most part, he has done it again, but I do have issues with this film. I don't think it's as perfect as Hereditary was, because Hereditary, for me, constantly had this engagement sense to it. You never lost sight of what was going on because the film always kept you laser focused on everything on screen, and it slowly built from the first frame of the film, and it was amazing in that regard. And it crept up on you, and the horror was right in front of you the whole time, even if you didn't know what it was at first. Midsommar, on the other hand, has a first act that has some issues. Now, I would say it's only restricted to the first act, so you can kind of overlook that once you get to the actual place and the festivals begins. Then you definitely are into like something amazing. But there is that first act where you're sort of trying to see like what is this building to? And one of my issues with the first act is with Dani's character. The stuff that happens to her, the things that happens, is a very disturbing thing. And they try to use that as a way to talk about how things have been always very topsy-turvy with her in her life, and they've been off. And that's fine, and that's definitely something that the film is trying to hit on, the whole, 2 hour and 20 minutes of it. But one thing I can help but not realize is that after a while, they sort of skim through that. It's like, oh, that was a thing. Anyway, moving on now. I was a little confused by that because it was a character development thing that they didn't really develop. It was kind of strange. Also, for the first 40 minutes, there's not much tension. There's one creepy shot, and that's about it. It's one thing to slowly build, but one thing I do like about horror is that it starts from the get-go. It's like a slow build. That first 40 minutes, nothing is really happening, and for the most part, Danny, Christian, and the other, guys, friends, they're sitting and getting high, and they're, having a good time. Which, again, I feel like it would add to something more later on, but it doesn't quite do that. Granted, there is a specific theme regarding grief, loss, regret, acceptance, forgiveness almost. Like, all these themes are there in the film, and there is an ending, and there is a way the film brings it all around when you're coming to its conclusion. But then there is that period of time in the beginning where you're just like, what exactly are we doing here? And I feel like on second viewing, that wouldn't be so much of an issue because maybe I would be able to, put it together a little bit better. But right now, it just feels like that first 45 minutes is just kind of there. But thankfully, the film picks up considerably after that. I didn't have an issue with the runtime at all. I never felt like it was way too long for me. I really enjoyed it, some of the stuff. It does get very creepy and unsettling, but if they just fixed a few things, especially with that character turning point, if they'd fixed that a little bit more, if they'd worked on that maybe a little bit more, then I think it could have been a more polished product. As it stands, it feels like a small step down from what Hereditary was able to do. Still solid, but not quite as solid. I'm gonna give Midsommar an 8 out of 10. If there's one thing I've learned about horror films, you do sometimes need to see it again to sort of absorb things. Maybe down the line, I will call Midsommar a masterpiece. Maybe down the line, it'll be in my top 10 movies of 2019. I don't know. Or maybe not. I know for some, it'll be probably in the worst films of 2019. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I know Hereditary made a few worst lists, so it's very likely that could happen too. But at the same time, I am excited about the prospect of what else Ari Aster can do, and I can't wait for his next movie, whichever that is. And I'm going to do the same thing. Show up opening day for that film, because this is a very talented director, and I can't wait to see what else he does. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Look forward to more videos very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.